This podcast is Entell enhanced. To see pictures, articles and links of what's being discussed, download the Entell app.
Hello, welcome to the BiG Scuba Show.
Hi, this is the BiG Scuba Podcast. I'm Steve Lewis. I am the VP of Marketing for Dive Raid International, and today Gemma, Ian and I are going to talk about, well, actually all sorts of things, but it turns out all three of us are really interested in diving. So we're going to talk about scuba diving and some other things. So let's go.
Welcome back to the BiG Scuba Podcast. We are your hosts, Gemma and Ian. Before we get cracking with today's episode, we just want to make sure you have hit that follow button or the subscribe button, depending on what platform you are listening on. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts and you enjoy what you're going to hear today, we would really appreciate it if you can leave a review and a 5-star rating. So now that's out of the way, we just want to say welcome and thank you for all tuning in. And now it's time to dive into today's episode.
Okay everyone, welcome back to the BiG Scuba Podcast. My name's Ian, I am one of the co-hosts, and with me is...
Hello, I'm Gemma, I'm the other co-host.
Well, it's been a few weeks since we've been back, and so first off, thanks for downloading this episode.
Yep, and we're back. We've had a busy few weeks.
We have, and I was just looking back, and I've filled a whole sheet of paper of what we've got and what's been going on, and because we should have brought an episode out last week, but we're busy, we're doing other stuff, and so here we are. We've got a bit of a long episode.
Makes up for the last couple of weeks.
And it does, so bear with us. You might have to play this on your commute to work and then home again as well. We do try and keep it to under an hour, but
sorry, this one's not.
This one's a bit longer. Coming up on this one, we're going to have a chat about what we've been up to. We are going to talk to you about DEMA, because DEMA's kicking off on Monday, tomorrow.
Yeah, the first of November.
Tuesday it kicks off on Tuesday. Yeah. We've got our update from Ben Benji, so he's back. So
he's our skipper in Ilfracombe.
And I've got a new jingle for him, so there we go, look out for that. We've got our guest, we'd like to bring a guest to you, and today we have got Vice President of Marketing of Dive Raid, Steve Lewis.
Yes, so you've heard him do his intro, but he's going to talk to us a little bit more in depth.
Well respected and a pillar in the diving community.
And a very nice guy.
Yeah, brilliant. We talked to him, he's all the way out in Canada.
He is, yeah, but has got English connections as well as parents.
Yeah, this is really good. And so that's kind of sort of what's coming up. And we've got a little bit of talk about some of the people who also help involved in the podcast. So a couple of weeks ago, we both were diving at Stony Cove.
Yes, you were on DM duty for 2 days.
I was. Hello to the students who all passed that weekend. I was DM for Polly Wake, who runs Crystal Sea Scuba in Norwich. That was my stint on duty that weekend. Really good team, really good group of students, mixed ages, and they were all really good. Yeah, all passed. And it was nice. Saturday I was in my wetsuit. What was like 18 degrees?
Yeah, Why
would you not?
Yeah, no, it was a nice weekend. I was there the Saturday and the weather was nice and bright, wasn't it? Yeah.
And on a Saturday, the first lot of dives are usually on the shelf anyway. And I just thought, I don't really want to be in thermals and dry suit for that. So wetsuit it, and it was great. It was absolutely fine. Visibility was a little bit iffy at times.
Got worse in the day, didn't it?
It did a little bit. Certainly wasn't as good as the time before that when we saw all the fish and all that, but there's still a lot.
Baby fish.
Yeah, a lot of baby fish still at the cockpit. And Sunday we go a bit deeper, so I wanted the dry suit because I've just got my dry suit back from 03 from being fixed. Nice new neck seal and a few little repairs. Thank you very much. Very quick turnaround from 03.
Yeah, that was good, wasn't it?
So hello to our friends at 03. It was good getting that done. And you was with...
Yeah, I dived on Saturday and met up with Matt Rivet and Lloyd Pearson.
Scuba Matt.
So had a couple of dives with those two
Who,
guys.
funny enough, is coming on the podcast in a few weeks' time.
Matt's very experienced diver, and he'll be on in a couple of weeks to tell us about his diving journey.
Yeah, if you don't know who Matt is, so Matt has been diving probably similar time to me actually, and done a bit of cave diving with the Thomases, and side mount, and now got a rebreather.
Yeah.
And is it a kiss rebreather? I think he's got.
It is, yeah. So he dived on the rebreather on Saturday, and then Lloyd and I were on. Obviously,
I know he's building his hours up as well. So Matt will be coming on to talk to us. He's just recently been to Scapa. And how was it? Nice for you to buddy up with something different this time.
Yeah. It was So it was a trio of us. So which was good. So yeah, first dive was okay, and the second dive was really good, and got down to a bit of a depth.
Yeah.
So,
good.
Yeah. So yeah, it was good.
Always good to see the friendly bunch at Stony Cove. If you don't know where Stony Cove is in the UK, it's in the Midlands.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you look at Birmingham on the map, then look just south for Birmingham, and look a little bit east, you'll kind of find where Stony Cove is. So roughly there. So that's roughly what we've been doing 2 weeks ago. Then this weekend, so yesterday, so on a regular basis, every sort of 3 months, would you say? Usually when there's a special day coming up, isn't there?
It's the Green Party in Norwich organise a litter pick along the river near the cathedral, but they've involved us as scuba divers.
Yeah, so we've been supporting them for the last, year and a bit really, with this.
I think we started, it was kind of in between COVID, wasn't it? 2020.
Yeah. It is organised by the Norwich Greens, but it's in absolutely no way any at all, because we're not
no political allegiance.
There's no political allegiance at all. It's just let's say it's more of a community led event to go there for 2 hours in the morning, go litter pick around the whole. It's the river. It's a funny one actually, because it goes from the River Wensum to River Yare, roughly along there somewhere. But it's, a whole group of people. Usually you sort of anywhere from about 30 to 40 people.
Yeah, the Green Party provide the litter picking equipment, the bags, the litter pickers, the fluorescent jackets, the gloves.
You can literally just turn up and they'll
really
provide you gloves, everything you need.
Yeah.
And they'll give you an area, not on your own, as a group.
As a team.
Yeah, as a team, and you go around and litter pick.
Yeah, and we did that yesterday on Saturday, and we saw one of our diving colleagues as well, Emma Sturman from Norfolk Beach Cleans.
Yeah.
So it was great to see somebody else. So Emma was doing obviously land-based cleaning.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was great to see some familiar faces as well.
It was, yeah. We jumped in, and it's really strange because we got in the water for about 10 o'clock, didn't we?
Yes, and it was.
And the river had a good flow on it, and then by the time we jumped in at 10, so we arrived just after 9, didn't we? By the time we'd actually come to start the event, the flow had stopped on the river.
Had the slack had obviously hit.
Just the visibility gone.
No.
It was down to I was on the bottom crawling basically. There's no visibility at all.
It's like a few centimetres.
It's just.
Yeah, so you did the underwater. I stayed pretty much on the surface and just kept cover. Really, I think it was.
It was good. It was a good event, and it was really good to help. And we managed to, although there was not much visibility, still managed to pull some things
You
up.
did awesomely. Yeah, you picked up a huge bollard and a few cones and a few other bits and pieces.
A few bottles and something which I thought was a root and that weren't. It was some
Cable,
kind of wiring or something. Yeah. But strangely enough, usually you see a lot of cans and bottles and stuff. Didn't see that much from what I could see. To be honest.
But the land-based people collected an amazing amount of rubbish.
Oh, loads.
Did so well, and I think they'd obviously picked up. There were some sharps and things, so they'd let the council know they were going to go and sort those out. But yeah, lots of rubbish and
filled the back of my van basically, didn't it?
Yeah.
The amount of stuff. Somebody found a bike.
Yeah, quite a nice.
We used to get a bike.
But it wasn't a decrepit bike.
Always fine, good bikes. The good news is is that these bikes then go, if they're in a good condition, not if they're rotten, what have you, but if they're in a reasonable condition where they can be cleaned up and a bit of oil, and they go to a charity, and the charity then use them, or they'll sell them, and so something happens to them. They don't just get binned.
No, the important thing to say is the city council come and pick up that rubbish that we collected. They sort through it, and they like some of it gets recycled, it gets sorted, and then will then get dispersed into the right avenues.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, that stuff shouldn't be there, so it needs to be picked up. It'd be great if it wasn't there in the first place, but at least it gets picked up.
But that's why these events are great, because it makes this awareness of people about all this litter, and I think if more people get involved, it kind of makes it a bit more.
The next event will be in March, so keep an eye on our social media, because when it comes to the point, we do share about it, don't we?
Yeah.
So if you're in the Norwich, Norfolk area and you want to take part, then you can get involved.
And we better give a shout out to Peter Cutting and Gary Champion, who kind of were the organisers of the event.
Peter's son Mike, who helped pull that great big heavy bollard in that I went down.
Yeah, and we did a quick interview with Peter, so we'll just let you.
Which is funny enough coming up in this episode.
Yes, we'll go into that now, and then we'll be back.
Brilliant. Ready? Yeah, right. We are here. We're in Norwich car park, and so we're here in Norwich car park, and we just finished doing a river clean, and Gemma's here.
Hello.
And we're here with Peter Cutting, who's one of the volunteers who's basically helped organising it for these last few years. Peter, say hello.
Oh, hello.
Say hello to the BiG Scuba Podcast and our listeners.
BiG Scuba Podcast.
So how long have you been doing it?
5 years.
5 years.
5 years. It's 5th year this year. Obviously with a bit of a gap because of COVID. But
what got you involved in river clean and organising?
Okay, I think it was because I wanted to do something that was feasible, realistic, but would have a practical value. Would actually be worth doing.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do that both on a personal level, but I also want to do it as part of the Green Party, because I think it sends a message to people just passing by on the riverbank or whatever.
Yeah.
When they see people who've got Green Party things on, doing practical tasks like that, I think it leaves an impression, which it's all very positive. So I was very keen that we did stuff that was, actually at the end of the day was really, really worth doing. And over the last 5 years, we've hooked an enormous amount of muck out, off the banks, out of the river, and since you guys have been involved, off the river bed as well, of course, which is a relatively recent thing. But we must have hundreds of bagfuls of stuff.
Yeah.
Plus the cones and the trolleys and all that sort of thing. And it does make a difference.
It
really does. Yeah.
Well, if we had like today, if we haven't been here, all of us, all this stuff, and there's probably how many bags would you say?
No, I don't know. It must be at least 40 odd over there. And we've
a
got
good 40.
Yeah, and big objects like that.
Cones.
Traffic cones and a supermarket trolley and a bollard out the
got
middle of the
bike.
road. Yeah, bikes, all sorts of stuff, all manner of stuff. And the other thing, which is I think important about these events, Ian, is that it's not difficult for lots of people to get involved.
No.
Because you can borrow the stuff from the city council, the litter pickers and the gloves. You can bin bags are cheap, aren't they, really?
Yeah.
And it means that anybody and everybody of all sort of shapes and sizes can come along and help out, either on the water or on the banks.
Yeah.
If you don't want to go in a canoe, fine. There's plenty of muck on the banks to pick up. So it's a good community thing.
It is.
And it's not, although it's the Green Party organise it. I mean, the people who turn out aren't Green Party supporters.
No.
They just come along to help.
We're not affiliated with any party.
I mean, the thing is, I think it's a community activity, which is kind of facilitated by the Green Party.
Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to organise it.
I mean, it could be facilitated by BiG Scuba.
And we can't leave it to the everyday person just to turn up and go, should we do something? Should we not? Because then nothing happens. So somebody's got to take the initiative.
That's
and
right,
you've been doing that, and that's been really good.
No, it's good, and we've never had any serious problems. I mean, the biggest problems probably have been things that we found, like sharps and knives and things like that.
Yeah.
But I must say, Norwich City Council is excellent, and they're not good at much, but they're bloody good at coming around and collecting stuff like that.
Yeah.
They really are good. They've got a special team. They're really on the ball, and they'll come around and sort it all out, very quickly.
Yeah. So even though it looks like we're fly tipping here, and we've this has all been checked out, we leave the stuff, it's on the grass, it's out of the way, and then come Monday morning the Norwich City Council guys, they come and pick it all up,
and take it away,
and then it gets recycled.
Well, we hope some of it gets recycled. I'm not entirely sure, but I mean, it depends how much.
Bike and a trolley.
The bike, I think
Yeah.
the bike and the trolley do. Yeah. I mean, they sort it out
Yeah.
of COSI. So yeah, I think those things that can be recycled are.
Yeah.
And the rest of it, I think, goes across to Amsterdam for incineration now. I think it
Right.
goes to Holland.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I think
Oh,
so.
okay.
Yeah, because they've got no more landfill. They've run out of holes in the ground
Wow.
to stick it in.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I know. I think it goes to the Netherlands now.
Okay.
And it's burned for regional heating schemes because they do that kind of thing.
Well, it goes to something. So
yeah, well,
Yeah,
Uh,
and
unless-
it's going to be
Know what they're
sorted out as
Yeah,
well.
of course
so
it is.
Yeah.
it's gonna be-
So, yeah.
Well, it's been really good,
Right,
and
good.
it's
Well,
good to
thank
get
you
all
for
this
your help,
stuff.
as
Yeah,
always.
Thank you for inviting us
Sorry,
again.
The water wasn't a little more, transparent
Well,
for
next
you. But
time-
next time, who knows?
Just how it goes. I think that if the flow had kept up, then I think the visibility
Yeah,
would have been better. But it is
Okay,
what it
great.
is. So,
Yeah.
but the next one is in March.
March, I'll let you know the date. I can't remember. It's not like 12th or 9th.
That's usually something to do with like a river day or something.
World Environment Day or something. But whatever it is, we'll let you know when it is.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you
Thanks,
very
Peter.
much.
So that was Peter. Thank you very much, Peter, for organising the River Clean yesterday. Something that we enjoy and we are looking forward to already in March.
Yeah, it's a real feel-good event. It was, yeah.
I might do it in a wetsuit next time. I don't know. We'll see.
March?
Oh, we'll see. Anyway, coming up on Tuesday, DEMA. Let's talk about DEMA. So a really great event as the whole world of diving
Yes.
looks forward to
I think-
starting every year.
Yeah, and this is the first time since the pandemic it's been like the real proper
Yes.
DEMA, I think, where
Yeah,
lots more people are
Come
going.
to us from Florida.
Yeah, Orlando.
Yeah. And it looks to be another great event.
Yeah, there's plenty of exhibitors and plenty of visitors.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's an app even, isn't
There
it?
is an app. I've downloaded the app and it looks really good. I've been going through it, and you can, for people like us who won't unfortunately be there this year, you can still get involved because you can go on there on the app. It's a free app, and I believe this app is the same for if you haven't got an iPhone. Lucky, you can still use the app on other phones as well.
Yeah, Android and Apple.
Android, yeah. Sorry. So I'm an iPhone. You're the other sort. So yeah, you can still use the app to basically go on there and say, right, okay, I want to hear what Tech Clark's talking about. He's got one of his things he's talking about is risk mitigation.
Yeah, so it's...
So even though you're not there physically, you can go on there and download that. I think there is a cost. Okay, so you need to look at that, but start with the app. Get the app, and you can get all the information that you need to still take part, even though you're not at the show. Now we spoke to Tech just last week because Tech is one of the speakers.
And he's one of our previous guests.
One of our previous guests, and the things he came out with, do you remember? Was Transform,
yeah.
remember that?
Yeah.
And so something just to bear in mind, Transform. Anyway, we digress. So Tech is going to be talking to the DEMA show. One thing is diving deep into your business.
Yeah, which will be interesting.
It's like marketing and other sort of things to be aware of.
Yeah, it's good.
In the diving world, in business, because diving isn't just about having pleasurable times. It's about business as well.
And he does apply it. You can apply it to your business life. As well.
Yeah. Power of podcasting. That's on Thursday, which would be obviously a good one to be looking at.
Yeah, and obviously Tech
How
Clark.
do you start a podcast?
Yeah, and Tech Clark has 2 podcasts.
He does, yeah. And there's a panel of people who will be talking about podcasting, how they got involved. I think also YouTube in that as well. And the other one I mentioned is on Thursday is this risk mitigation, which we'll be talking about risk in business. That's particularly aimed at the diving pros. So things to be aware of when you're teaching students, things like that.
Yeah, well, that's good because it's all part of widening the scuba industry and people progressing and hopefully getting a business out of it as well.
Yeah, it is, and all stuff that the serious side of diving.
Yeah, diving is, it's not all about having fun. It is people's businesses as well. We've got to sort of be respectful of that.
So hope you have a great time if you're going to Dima next year, this year, and Dima next year is coming from New Orleans.
Yeah.
So which would be a really cool one to go to. Yeah, you never know. Hopefully, maybe next year we can go. That'd be really cool, wouldn't it? So Dima, let us know if you're going. Let us know if you've been, and what did you think? Any things you thought, they could have done more on, or let us know.
Just let us know what you think.
Have some feedback.
If you haven't heard of Dima, wherever you are in the world, look it up. They've got a website as well, but have a little delve, and I'm sure you'll find something quite interesting from it.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, next coming up on this episode, we've got Captain Benji.
Yes. So he's been with us on a previous episode, but he's going to be a regular feature on the podcast.
Yeah.
Not every episode, it's going to be every few months, and he's just going to give us an update on his life as a boat skipper in Ilfracombe.
He is, and a great character, a whole family of skippers, and who have all been in the fishing and diving,
wild swimming, and involved in the wildlife. So it's an amazing. Well, we obviously connected with him because we went on his boat diving in Lundy back in May.
Yeah.
And then from there, we've obviously built sort of a connection with him. And,
people know him and his dad particularly.
Yes.
Who's also a skipper. That's really great to have him on board, coming on and giving us some regular updates.
Yeah, he's a lovely guy, lovely character, and so he's going to give us an update. Yeah, literally on his last few months.
Yeah. So we do it.
Yep. So after Ben, we'll go straight into Steve as well, won't we?
Yeah, this is it.
So enjoy this interlude with Ben, and let us know what you think.
Yeah, let it go, Sammy.
It's that time in the podcast where we take you back to North Devon and catch up with RNLI coxswain Captain Ben Benji of the Barbara B Dive and Fishing Boat in Ilfracombe Harbour. Mind those ropes! Hello.
No, I'm not very good at this technology.
How you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, really well, thanks.
Yeah,
Nice to see you. So,
See you too.
yeah, so you've been keeping busy?
Yeah, I think so.
We're always watching you on Instagram.
Yeah, don't read into my weird Instagram posts.
We like your music.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like weird Instagram post gets people's minds thinking.
They're good. Yeah, they're good. So you've been keeping busy though.
Yeah. I'm back to sea in what's time now? 7.
I thought of you this morning. They were. I was on the road, and the shipping forecast come on, and it comes on about Lundy and Fastnet.
Yeah, 10 to the hour every 4 hours.
That said, it was going to be a bit windy there today.
Yeah, it was a bit windy. Yeah, it was a bit. Yeah, day off. When did we last go to sea? Monday. Yeah, back out tomorrow morning, bright and breezy.
So what time are you off in the morning?
4.
4. Oh, not too bad.
Up at 10 to 3.
Yeah. Well, we won't keep you because no doubt you'll be wanting you.
Me and Sammy have started with this personal trainer at 4:45 in the morning, 3 days a week.
Wow, well done.
Wow.
Yeah. It's some guy on the lifeboat, and he was a ex-paratrooper. He's been trying to get us to do it for years.
Really?
And me and Sammy, I just went, I'll do it. And then I went to one, and I said to Sammy, do you want to get on this? He ain't charging us. I was like, all right. Yeah, we're 3 weeks in, only another 9 to go.
So what have you been doing? Running or all sorts? Weights?
Yeah, that high intensity, 40-second. I thought I was quite fit.
Yeah, but he's a paratrooper.
I thought I was quite fit. And then he was like, "Can you do sit-ups?" Nah, no core there whatsoever. Yeah, quarter. What was it? Yeah, 20 to 4. I was up this morning. Yeah, 4:45 we start. Finished by
Blimey.
20 to 6, and then trying to eat like scrambled egg on toast at like 10 to 6 in the morning ain't fun.
I thought CrossFit at 6:30 was bad enough. Blimey.
Yeah, well, on Monday, me and Sammy done it. Then we went to sea for 13 hours.
Oh, Ian would have just been asleep having a nap in the wheelhouse.
The first 100 pots were painful. I know that much. I found muscles in my body I didn't even know I had. I didn't know they could hurt there.
Oh well, that's good. Yeah, Sammy getting on okay with it?
Yeah, he's we both moan. We'll be moaning tomorrow morning about it. I don't see enough of him, really, in all honesty. I want to see more of it.
Is he getting doing burpees and things?
He did burpees the first week. What did we do today? Like legs and back. Yeah, lifting doing squats and that. And, yeah.
So what are you doing for weights then? Or you do? Is it kind of like body weight stuff?
Yeah, but it's only like 12.5 kilo weights. But yeah, for 40 seconds. That's good enough. What do we went? He does a gym class every Saturday. And he said to us, if you don't come Friday morning, you can come to if you don't go Friday at 4:45, come to the gym class at 8:10. That was an hour. It's not like 40 minutes, and he's got us doing this half Hindu thing, like we got to like be on all fours, go down, then push up like a press up. Well,
really, I
hurt after that, so I had to go and have a few apples that night in the pub just to like.
I tell you, that is tough stuff. That body weight stuff. That's what do they call that? Calisthenics.
Calisthenics, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. Shouts at me. That's about that.
Oh well, very good. That's really good. Yeah. So your diving is finished now, is it? Diving's over.
Diving's over. Last week diving 3 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. 3 weeks ago, we had a weird bird at Lundy last week. Yeah, a load of twitch. Was that last week? Yeah, it must have been last. Yeah, a load of twitches ringing up like Saturday night. Can you take us to Lundy tomorrow to go see this bird? Yeah, crack on. Yeah, the bird weren't there.
No way.
It happens quite a bit. It was a Baltimore Oriole. Normally flies the east coast of America from like New York, like down to like Mexico. Mm-hmm. And they reckon it was there on the Saturday, and then on the Saturday night it was clear sky, and he said he reckons he's just flown south.
Wow.
Yeah, quite a bit of like rare, like with the weather systems we get across the Atlantic, get quite a few rare birds. Last year we had a warbler, and it went nuts that day. Dad had like 200 missed calls in under an hour.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. About 50,000 people departed to come to Lundy. It was nuts.
That's bonkers, isn't it?
Yeah, twitchers. They're a strange breed. I'm not going to lie. They are.
I thought divers were a bit strange.
Oh, yeah, nuts. Yeah, we had one. We first went over like say a Tuesday night. It was only there for one day. That night it left, and then like everyone else carried on. We stopped. There's a bloke in John O'Groats that morning, and he drove from John O'Groats to Ilfracombe to get on the boat to go to London because this like warbler was like the first ever time it had like been in the UK. It's a Thailand bird.
So it got lost.
Got very lost. So
he drove all the way from John O'Groats to the Ilfracombe harbour, and then what? Did you take him over? And it weren't there.
No, it was there that night, and then the next day it'd gone. By the next day, we went to go over, and they're all like, all these twitches are on pages, and like
it's another world.
Gemma know how expensive pages are, and like literally, they're literally just paging. They're like, there's been no signs of it, and I had a group the next day that had come down from Newcastle, no signs of it, and they're like, yeah, we're going home. Here's your money, we're going home.
No way.
Good business.
Yeah. Oh, they're nuts. And because like I'm the only boat left, like one for the winter month, the only boat left, I said to him, I said, bring me day or night. I said, at night after 10 o'clock, you got to ring me twice if it's important. And yeah, start driving, we'll take you.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Wow. That's a new one. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Pictures, they love it.
Yeah. So with you're fishing now then?
Yeah, back on the Whelks, yeah.
Yeah. How's the season going?
All right, yeah. It's what it is. It's going good. It's going good. This weather's not playing ball really. Weather, tide.
Is there a good weather for whelk fishing?
Black calm.
Really?
No swell. As the water starts dropping now, they'll start crawling. But up until that point, yeah, they're like, in the summer they normally all bury in the mud.
Do they?
You wouldn't want to smell the boat right now. Hot.
Oh.
Yeah, but
that can't be any worse than a diver. Let's face it, a lot of divers smell.
Trust me. If you think you haven't like washed your like undersuit for like 3 years, it's still not smell.
Oh, no.
Nice.
It's like tomorrow morning, like when me and Sammy lift the bait tub open and get the bait out, it'll be all right because it was frozen. But the other day, it's just like all the gurry coming out of like the dogfish and like that. And then all day, that's all you can smell. And then like you have a fart, that's what you literally fart well. Oh, it's horrible. You come home, you're like, I've had a shower. Why do I smell?
Yeah, just gets in your hair, that fishy smell. It's just like you just can't.
That's why I just keep going shorter and shorter and shorter. At the end, I've had like if like you work every day, my hoodie could literally just walk off the boat because it's that covered in salt.
Yeah.
Like if you put it, when I used to bring all my hoodies home, when I used to live with mum and dad's, it'd be horrible. Like I'd just hang my hoodie up and you like put it on at 2 in the morning. You literally like start gagging straight away.
Wow.
You'd think you'd get used to it. It's a bit like farmers and manure. You kind of get used to it, don't you?
You get used to it because like I stopped for 4 months whilst diving. You get the smell, and then like the first time you open the bait, then like, oh Jesus, I miss it. I hate this. Bring back divers. Bring back the divers.
So when did the diving finish?
Pardon?
When did the diving finish?
3 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
I think. I can't remember. It's been a long like time.
Has it been a good dive season, do you think?
Phenomenal. We only cancelled 4 dates in the whole year.
That's really good, isn't it?
Wow.
So that means next year is going to be absolutely shocking. Probably.
Weather was on your side this year.
Yeah, everything. It was like where normally you get like the Atlantic swells in August, you just never had it. Yeah. We never cancelled a whole weekend. We got 1 day in on the dates we cancelled. Three dates I think I cancelled. Yeah, we never cancelled a whole weekend.
Yeah.
Apart from the first weekend of the season, but that doesn't count because that always happens.
Yeah.
Any sort of thing come to mind? Anyone that kind of stood out over the season?
A lithium battery catching on fire at 23 meters.
No.
Yeah. We're doing survey work with London.
Was it external or internal?
Internal. We just haven't like done it up enough so the water seeped in. And then he brought it on the boat, and I didn't really want it on the boat.
Wow.
A fire blanket, wrapped it up. And then,
so they're quite tough to put. I don't think you can put them out of water, can you?
No, they self-fueled, so they'd keep burning underneath the water. Yeah, he was down diving the Iona. He was literally going from the Robert to the Iona, and he was seeing bubbles coming out the side of his like casing. Oh, what's this? It wasn't even his torch on the camera. And he went, oh Jesus! So he came up, and then as he came onto the deck started going brown. I'm like, what the hell was going on? And then he opened it. You just started to see flames shooting out.
No way.
Wow, just shows it's dangerous, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, this is the problem that can be with some of these heated vests that you can buy, because some of them the batteries are on the inside of your dry suit, and that's the last thing you want you know, and like fitness trackers, they've all got these batteries in,
Mm.
and you've got to be really careful down at depth, you know, having something like that internal. The best ones are the external ones.
Oh,
Yeah, have it on the outside, don't have it on the inside. Jesus.
Yeah.
Mm. Nice.
Wow, that's a bit naughty. I see you've got some solar panels on your boat.
Yeah, I've gone up in the world.
Got new propellers and then
Yeah.
solar.
New propellers, solar panels. What else we got? Shore power, new battery turn-ons. Yeah, I had the electricians down for 4 days.
Yeah.
4 Literally just catching up from when I bought the boat, of what I wanted doing.
Yeah.
So now when the boat's alongside the wall, I can plug in and it'll charge my batteries up and just stuff like that.
That's good then.
Heaters in the engine room for when the boat's not out, so it's not getting all damp. But then solar panels, brilliant bit of kit that is.
Yeah, I bet.
Got an app on my phone, so when I'm at sea, it will literally tell me how many like watts are going in through the panels. It's just for when we're sat on the mooring with divers, and the kettles are going all the time, and at the end of the season, your batteries would be dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're having to start the boat up to charge the batteries, charge the kettles, where Britain's always sunny, you know.
It's windy. Yeah.
It just makes sense. And then we've changed how the batteries charge off the different engines. So when like the lift's going up and down, I wasn't charging the kettles. So now we've changed it. So when the engine's onto the lift, it's charging the kettles. That's little things. It's only taken 10 years to like work these kind of things out.
That's a good idea, though.
But that's good because it's all like it's a bit sustainable then, isn't it? And it's
Yeah.
Oh yeah, these panels, what are they? They're silicone panels. 3 to 4. Well, they reckon 3 to 4 years lifespan on these panels. But yeah, brilliant bits of kit.
Yeah, that's
and
good.
then you haven't got to change your batteries, and then you're not killing the environment as much.
Yeah.
That's right, because they
Makes
then have
sense.
to be, disposed of, don't they? And
Yeah.
So yeah, eco way. That's got to get electric engines next, and we're there.
boy. Well, there are electric boats out there, aren't there? There's
Yeah.
There's electric ferry down Plymouth way.
Yeah.
Just got to find a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, technology with batteries is coming on the whole time, isn't it? So that's good. Well, what's going on with the lifeboat?
A lot.
Been busy?
Yeah, there was a nice one on Saturday night, but I wasn't there. I was in the pubs sorting my legs out, because they were hurting. They had a fisherman fall off the rocks in like a northwest storm. We had quite a nice couple, like rough shouts, really.
Yeah, you had the helicopter out, didn't you, on that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't hear the helicopter. I signed off. I was in the pub. No, we had a helicopter on one of the cut-offs down Lee Bay, 3 miles. We had cut-offs down there. That's quite nasty. Yeah, I was on helm on the little one and couldn't get in there. It was like 2.5 meter swell going ashore on the rocks.
Wow.
If they were like 30 foot up, if they were 15 foot up, I'd have probably done it, but the risk versus reward benefit wasn't there. And the helicopter pilot done a fantastic job of getting in there. Yeah, those guys. That's why they pay big bucks to drive them things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, but as long as everybody's safe and sound, that's amazing.
Well, it is, isn't it?
I can't really remember a lot. I'm not going to lie. It's where I need Sammy with me because he reminds me of these things.
We'll have to bring him on another time.
Yeah.
Next time I get Sammy here to remind me of what we actually do, because I don't remember a lot. then I'll get off this call and I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember doing that now.
Oh well, it sounds like you've been busy. So
Yeah.
What about the seals in Lundy? Have they kind of disappeared, or have they had their pups now?
They're pupping well. They're all still there. Very playful as always. A few more at the end of the season with bits of rope around their necks and bits of twine. Unfortunately, none of them ever came close enough to divers to be able to cut off, because occasionally they do come right up to the divers and let them cut it off. But no,
Yeah.
so I don't know, because you can't sedate them. That's the issue. Because if you sedate them on the rocks and then they go into the sea, you're not going to get them in time.
No.
So try to lift a 200 kilo seal up from the bottom to the surface isn't.
Yeah.
So, but we've noticed they'll have a lot more plastic in the water this year.
Really? Why do you think that is?
I don't know. Could be the weather because it's not getting washed up. Amount of balloons this year.
Yeah, I think you posted about picking up some balloons.
I don't know how these balloons are still like sold.
Yeah, they should be banned.
Foil balloons.
Yeah. And then there was one balloon at the start of the season that had dates on it from where like different people had picked it up. And then it was like, but it was like 3 or 4 days consecutively of when they'd done it. Yeah, it's nuts.
It's just
a lot more plastic. Then obviously we've had with the bird flu, loads of dead gannets, unfortunately. From here to Lundy. It's been a bit of a bad year for that.
Yeah, but these things, they've kind of Mother Nature, isn't it? It's just with birds and the bird flu. But the plastic's not a good thing.
The plastic and like the amount of like waste. It's waste. And the issue is that it all comes in clumps of weed.
Yeah.
So like as we're driving along, we're like dodging the weed, and sometimes you just can't dodge it. And in the middle of that weed, there's like loads of like netting or something. And suddenly, my nice shiny crops aren't so shiny, and the boat's juddling around like anything.
Yeah.
Well, the dolphins, it's in them.
I think so. I stopped paying attention to dolphins when we started.
You see, we get excited. I can imagine what it's like because you see them regularly, but for us, we're like, wow, it's dolphins.
It's quite funny. Sammy's girlfriend started working on one of the charter boats, and she got all like really excited by seeing dolphins.
Yeah,
it's just like blasé of like,
dolphins.
They slow us down on our day. We got to stop and play with them. I think I had dolphins last week.
Yeah. Anything else?
Adamant that I've seen tuna. Can't be positive, but I'm adamant I've been seeing tuna north of Lundy.
Wow.
Other than that, no, I haven't really seen a lot more.
Will a tuna be in that area?
Yeah. I've had last year. I must have been like this time last year. I had a tuna jump at the boat.
Really?
Yeah. Proper jump at the boat. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's to do with the jet stream, isn't it?
They are coming up this way because there's a lot of feed. I mean, you get like the pilot whales up here and the minkies.
Yeah.
Food.
Yeah, so you get them up here. But other than that, not a lot else to report.
Okay, well, that's been good to hear from you, and that's good to catch up with what you've been up to and what have you. So the next time, if we can get you back sort of late November.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll bring Sammy that time.
Bring him along.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
You remind me what I forgot.
You have to take notes.
The issue is I'm severely dyslexic and I can't read my own handwriting. I can take as many notes from you as you want, and I'll be going, what does that say?
What does that say?
Yeah, Sammy can be your notebook, can't he?
Yeah.
It's the same as my old man. My old man's not dyslexic, but I can't read his writing, so I have to get other people to decipher it. I'm like, what is that? I can't read that.
That's brilliant.
That's been good. Yeah. So, hopefully, you'll have the weather will stay calm for you. That's the main thing, isn't it? So
they give it dropping away tonight to barely nothing. Bit fresh Friday, then back out again Saturday. So,
but you're still open for charters.
Yeah. I'll do anything to make money.
Yeah.
So, how many are you fishing? Just when the tides are right?
So every other day.
Yeah.
At the minute. And then every other day, and the fishing gets good, go every day.
Yeah.
But then that messes up my gym. Then see, got to get this keep fitting every day.
Yes, absolutely.
Anything so I don't have to go. I can't let the bloke who does it for me listen to this.
No, that's brilliant. All right, and Ben, that's been good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's been great to see you again. Yeah, so we'll drop you a line when it's out on the podcast. But
just tag me in. Let's keep sharing.
Yeah, and thanks for all the sharing you do for us. It's great.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
no worries. Thank you very much, guys.
All right then.
Catch you later. Cheers, Ben.
Bye-bye.
So, Steve Lewis, welcome to the BiG Scuba Podcast. It's very kind of you to join us. And would you like to tell our audience and our listeners around the world who you are and what you do?
I am a diver.
Well, thanks for turning up.
That's it. And for the English audience, I started off as a BSAC diver many years ago. We had when we were taking our equipment to and from the dive site, and remember those checkout dives, there were pterodactyls flying overhead, and had to get Tyrannosaurus Rexes out of the way. Were they together at the same period? Out of the way to get to the dive site. No, I started out in England, and now I live in Canada. I am an avid cave diver. The reason I like cave diving is because it's extremely safe compared to wreck diving, wreck diving's in the ocean, and there's all that space, and you could get lost. It's scary.
I'm sure the wreck divers say the same thing about cave diving, though.
Yes.
Well, I used to use an often touted phrase, which was, I'm a cave diver that doesn't get seasick, so I go wreck diving sometimes. But as time has gone on and I've gotten a little older and probably a little wiser, my days of cold water diving are certainly limited now. But I live where I actually am is about 250 kilometers north of Toronto, and I'm in the middle of the Great Lakes. And so there's a ton of wreck diving here. It's really, really extraordinarily prolific in terms of dive sites, which is great. But as I say, I do very little cold water diving. So I wait until I can get to somewhere warm and cave dive, and it's, as I say, it's cozy, it's nice. So I work for RAID. I'm the vice president of marketing. We, as a company, a bunch of us, we were all consultants for the old RAID. And at the beginning of the year, the former owners asked us as a group, would we be interested in buying the company? And we said, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Idiots that we were.
It's an opportunity.
Yeah.
So there's, I have a bunch of partners. They're all divers. They're all really invested in the diving industry, and we do our best to bring a quality product to our instructors, our dive shops, but most of all to the people who trust us to train them and to turn them on to the same adventure that some of us have enjoyed. In fact, most of us have enjoyed for eons, for years and years and years. I don't think, most of the management team are gray-haired and old, but there's a couple of younger people in the group. But between us, and I've never done this calculation, I probably should. Between us, we must have several hundred years of diving experience.
That's good, though, isn't it? And that's
astonishing in a way.
It is. And, the fact that you've that experience and number of dives has all stayed within the community, stayed within the business, and you're running it as a business to bring more people in to it, into the sport as well, which is, that's really important, isn't it?
Yeah. If someone asked me, what can we bring into the community at large, I would say a couple of things. One of them is enthusiasm, and the other one's experience. So the enthusiasm really has benefits because there really is that. Why the hell would you become a scuba instructor? Think about it. I mean, you're not going to get rich. You're not going to get famous. You're not going to get stopped in Walmart and asked for an autograph. That just isn't going to happen. But there is that whole thing about, and I think both of you have seen this, where you take someone in the water for the first time, and that you can see the life-changing experience just happening right there. I know that I've done that with cave students, taking them into a cave for the first real cave dive, towards the end of their class, and you just, you can hear the enthusiasm.
Wow.
That, I think, is one of the reasons to keep doing it. And the other one is the experience, and the experience counts for something, because scuba diving does have a lot of risks involved in it. It's part and parcel of the package that comes with it. The price you pay for that life-altering experience, and I think as an industry, certainly as a team at RAID, we're very conscious of that, and we try very, very hard to make our curriculum and the way we teach not difficult, not hard just for the sake of being hard, but realistic, because you both know. You can hurt yourself diving.
Yeah.
You can drop a tank on your foot.
Yeah.
Not a good thing.
No.
Yeah, it's full of its sort of trip ups and hazards. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So going right back, what made you put your head underwater?
Well, there was as a kid growing up, and I was born in the East End of London. I grew up on the Hampshire-Berkshire border, but I always say I'm a real Cockney. But there was a show on BBC TV, and it was Hans and Lottie Haas, the underwater world of Hans and Lottie Haas, and that's really what turned me on to wanting to be a scuba diver. A lot of people say it was a sea hunt or something like that, but for me, it was Hans Haas, the photography of Hans Haas.
Yeah.
And I had the distinct pleasure of meeting Hans and Lottie Haas, and they were both at that point, I think they must have been in their 80s. And Hans Haas, who, and I used to have clients who were German, so I tried to speak German to him, and he put up with it for a little while. He sort of answered me in perfect English with this beautiful Austrian accent. And he said to me, he'd asked me what it was that got me into diving, or how come I knew him and his wife, Lottie. And I told him about the TV show that I'd watched. And he said to me, "My boy, it wasn't me that got you into diving. It was looking at Lottie on the TV." Which was true. And I said, and the highlight of my life was Lottie Haas leaning over and giving me a kiss on the cheek. And it was just, meeting your hero. It was awesome. So that was really it. And then I think the whole realization that, one of the things I wanted to be when I was a kid was a paleontologist. I was very interested in early life and everything else. And as soon as I found out that all life on this planet, everything you see, a tree, a blade of grass, a ladybug, a blue jay, whatever it is, started life in the ocean. So having the opportunity to actually jump in the ocean and swim around and stay down there for more than a couple of minutes where you're holding your breath, to actually stay down there for a considerable amount of time and look and see, is a gift. It's something. And of course, if we talk about cave diving, for me, again, with that sort of interest in early history, to be inside a cave that is so highly decorated, and those decorations took tens of thousands of years to actually grow, it's mind-boggling. And I still, after all these years, I still get the same thrill. I still regard it as an honor and a pleasure to be able to look at that stuff.
Wow.
And of course, I've given up teaching now because, it's just, I had a good run, but I got too old. I got too old to someone's backside. I feel, we're a kilometer back in a cave. I'm not sure I could swim someone out, so I gave up teaching. But I still love the fact that you can turn someone on to the whole concept of it that they haven't thought about, especially a kid. To actually, one of the wonderful movements in our industry that has really happened in the last few years is that we've made it possible for children, for kids, to actually experience the first stages of that, even if it's in a swimming pool, even if it's a tri-dive for a 10-year-old in a swimming pool. It doesn't matter. It's still that hook. And for most of us, the first toke on the crack pipe is free, but from here on in, it is a wonderful thing to experience that. So when someone says, "Why did you get into diving?" I think that's it.
Wow.
It's a great story. Yeah, and you're right. To get more youngsters involved in this whole amazing experience is just a great thing.
That is so nice to hear as well, that because of your management level at RAID, that you are still finding diving and the thought of going underwater exciting. It's not just a role. It's not just a job. It's not, it's just not a thing to do to get paid. It's actually because you're putting that back in, and that's the excitement that we've got to put into kids. So they can say, "Wow, look at this!" Some of the most exciting things to see are the little critters running around, and which you can see at a couple of meters by just snorkeling and things like that. And that's those things that get people actually then into the sport. And that's if that's coming from the top, that's brilliant.
Well, thanks. I mean, we, as I said, one of the things that we bring to it is enthusiasm as a group. I could quite honestly, any one of my partners could be sitting here right now telling you the same story, really and truly. Some of them would be saying it, in Italian.
Yeah, but it's infectious, and that's the main thing. You get that passion, and it's infectious, and it just grabs you. Then. Yeah. No.
Spoken English. Well, sorry, you had a question. I'm interrupting, so go ahead.
No. You
see?
No. You carry on. That's
Tell us about the some of these caves that you've done. Then, do you have a favourite one that stand out?
Ian, it's one of the questions that one gets asked a lot.
Right.
Do you have a favorite cave? And my stock answer was always, this is like, oh yeah, the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Woo. Yeah, I do have favorite caves. And perhaps, I don't know whether it's a surprise, would be a surprise to some people or not, but some of my favorites are real tourist caves. A lot of, ones that are frequently visited. It's not, I have had the pleasure of laying new line in caves and filming it and looking through the viewfinder and thinking to myself, there's only ever been 3 people in the history of the world that have ever been to this place, and 2 of them are in the viewfinder of my camera, and all, those things. But I just love going into any cave. So I spend as much time as I possibly can in Mexico, because the caves in Quintana Roo in Yucatan are exceptional.
Yeah.
There's a cave there called Jailhouse, and it has a little bit of a history. And do either of you cave dive?
No, never. No, I'm new.
Yes.
Unfortunately not.
So well, you've got to try it. All the people now that are thinking about cave diving, I'm probably going to frighten them off. This cave, as many of the caves in Mexico, starts with literally a hole in the ground, and it used to be a muddy pond, and the line that led you inside the cave, it's crystal clear water, You swim for about 20 minutes and then in one direction, and you go under the halocline, which is that layer of salt water that sits below the layer of the lens of fresh water that sits on top. And it's even clearer.
Wow.
And of course, under where the salt water is, the limestone has never been discolored by tannic water. The rain water has never gone in there and dyed it brown or discolored it. So it's pure white, and it's absolutely astonishing. But the entrance was this, I don't know, you know that thing about a trust me dive? Well, there used to be a branch with a piece of string tied to it, and to go into the entrance, because you could see nothing. You may as well go in there with no lights, no mask, your eyes shut, because you were following a piece of string. Fair enough. And a lot of caves start like that. 3 or 4 meters in, suddenly the visibility opens up and everything's cool. And you kind of go to yourself, wow, I wonder who first.
Yeah.
Anyway, cut the story, sort of as a beginning. The middle bit, COVID hadn't been there for a couple of years. I was there a couple of months ago, and the landowner has started to develop it, which in some ways is bad, but in some ways, it's their land. They want to make some money. They want to turn it into an attraction. Fair enough. And anyone who's in the adventure travel industry, you can't really fault them for doing what they're trying to do. Anyway, they're digging it out, and they've. So I went there with a buddy and looked at it and went, this doesn't look like the same. I can see, in the pond, I actually can see rocks and stuff.
Oh, wow.
We started a dive, and it was completely clear. And I did not recognize the entrance because I thought the entrance was over that way, and it turns out the entrance actually is this. So for years I've been diving it, getting completely turned around, and didn't know, literally my backside from a hole in the ground. But as soon as you go in, of course, it's, it opens up. And one of the highlights, there are many, many highlights in Jailhouse, in this particular cenote, in this particular cave. But one of them are the bones of a prehistoric giant sloth that at some point, 10,000 years ago, thereabouts, walked in, got lost, died, and then the inundation, the water level came up, and there were these fossilized bones, and it's little things like that. Also, in that general area, there are caves where the Paleo Indians, the people that lived there before the Mayans, before the Aztecs, before the Incas, actually mined ochre from inside the caves. So the caves were dry. They went in there, and as tools, they lit fires, of course, because it's dark in there, and they actually mined with speleotherms. They broke off stalactites or stalagmites, dug with them, and there are caves where you can go and you can actually see the remains of the fire. Wow. The firewood is still there, and you can see where they dug the ochre out. There's little things like that which are astonishing, really.
That's a glimpse into the past, like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it must be amazing to see, and and be in that kind of environment where you are on your own. You can't talk to somebody. You're just viewing it.
Yeah, and you always get. Well, I always get hit. I think most people do. You always get hit by that visceral connection. And to put it onto wreck diving as well, the Great Lakes, this area here, because the water is fresh, the shipwrecks are very, very well preserved. So there are a ton of wooden wrecks. One in particular that stands out, which is the Cornelius B. Windiate, which is in Lake Huron, where when we first dove it, there were sail grommets on the deck below mast. It was a schooner rigged ship. So all the sails had rotted, but all the grommets were still around the things that held the sail, and the hoops, the mast hoops, and the things that held the sail to the mast were there, and you could still see the ice. And I remember looking at this piece of rope that had this perfect ice splice in it, and I sort of had this connection. I shouldn't say this, but I touched it, and honestly, it was like an electric shock, because I could sense the sailor who had worked that marlin spike into that piece of rope and woven into it the ice splice. Just astonishing to think about that connection with history, which is there if you open yourself up to it. And I don't want to sound too West Coast, but
So how old a wreck is that?
1850 something.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but the fact is, you're like so many meters underwater and you're touching something that a human has like engineered.
Yeah, and at that particular time, I think there'd only been about half a dozen other people on the wreck. So there is that as well, which is kind of wow. But even if it was, even if it had as many people on it as Bakerloo Station, or whatever, Baker Street Station, thank you, on the Bakerloo line, it still has some resonance, because it's still there. It's still there to appreciate, it's still there to look at, it's still there to experience. And so that's a great kick as well.
Yeah. No, it's really good. So how did you kind of come into the raid arena? Is it something that were you, because you said you were BZAC previously, so how did the whole raid scene come about?
Guy called Paul Toomer, who was one of the original partners, turned around at me at a show and said, "Would you write a cave diving manual for us?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." So I was with another technical agency, and he said, "If you're interested in doing it, then do it." And I did it, became an instructor trainer for them, and then for a little while worked for a couple of years and as their director of training. And then when we bought the company, someone said, what job do you want? And I said, well, let me see. Because I have a bit of a background in advertising, I think I'll do marketing. And that was it. So we all got to pick what we did, because none of us, we're not that big a company. And certainly that's part of our value proposition to our members, is that no one's paying us to be an executive salary. We all sort of bumble our way through. Yeah. There's no big corporate office. There's none of that sort of stuff. And it's just when we took over, it was very much what do you want to do?
You can imagine you all sitting around a table, going, you do this, you do that.
More or less. Less. What do we need? Who's going to take over the IT duties? Who's going to take over the business development? Who's going to take over marketing? Who's going to do training? It was one of those things. And luckily we had within that group, we had the experience and the expertise to actually have that facility, to be able to do that. It wasn't like we all wanted to do training, or we all wanted to do whatever. We each had something that really turned our crank, so we were able to divide it up.
Yeah. So RAID has exposure right across the world, or is it only in specific parts?
We're expanding. We've actually, in the last couple of months, we've opened 2 new regional offices, one in the Maldives and one in Brazil.
Wow. Yeah.
So, we're growing, which is nice. We need to, to be perfectly honest, from the point of view of business development, we have to work very hard to grow our footprint in the Caribbean, very important to the Canadian market, and the US market, especially the northern US.
Yeah.
Because the Caribbean's got some lovely diving. It really has. There's some wonderful spots there. So we need to work on the Caribbean. We need to work a little bit harder on the recreational diving area, generally worldwide. A lot of people think that RAID is just a sort of a technical agency. You know, you guys do rebreathers, you guys do deep trimix, etc. And we do those things. And a lot of that core of management now, the owners, we all sort of have because we've all been doing it for a long time, we all have a background that is steeped somewhat in the technical arena. But we want to get across to people that we're not a technical agency. We're actually a recreational agency. We teach little kids try dives. You know, we have a scuba diving program.
That's how you got started, wasn't it? On the tech side and rebreathers.
Yeah.
And then progressed into recreational.
We no longer use it's over this set. We no longer have we no longer use this acronym, you know, for what it was originally. It's RAID. If someone says, what does RAID mean? We say fun diving, safety, attention to detail.
It's true though, isn't it?
But what does it stand for? Well, it stands for RAID. We don't go into the old acronym anymore. You know, I sometimes say, well, the R's for recreational.
Otherwise, it makes you too niche.
Yeah.
Rather than being more positive and open.
You know, I'm actually trying to put the finishing touches on a book, another book, and I'm remembering years ago I was standing in front of a scuba diving club making a presentation about diving on the Empress of Ireland, which is this wonderful wreck that's in Quebec, in the St. Lawrence River, where the St. Lawrence River is about 20 kilometers wide. Wow. And it's a fantastic wreck, the biggest maritime or the worst maritime disaster in Canadian history. You know, more passengers lost their lives on the Empress of Ireland than on the Titanic. And very few people have heard of it because it sank about 2 weeks before the First World War broke out. So that kind of, you know, took everyone's attention. This Archduke Ferdinand guy just got shot in Slovenia. So, hey, we're going to go to war. Forget that shipwreck. But anyway, I was making a presentation on diving this wreck, and you know, at the end of it, as you will, you say, any questions? And you're expecting people to sort of maybe ask a question about the ship, or what equipment you used, or what gases were you using, how cold is it? You know, can you get a lobster dinner? You know, just off the on shore, out of the harbour. And a guy said, "What is technical diving? How is it different to like ordinary diving?" And this was in the very beginning of us using that phrase, technical diving. And it was a phrase. I still don't really like it because all diving is technical. But anyway, and I was like stumped. And you know that advice they give to lawyers about never ask a question you don't know the answer to? And I was like, so what do you think? And I'm, you know, thinking, what can I say? How can I answer this question? And I said, well, what do you think it is? You know, and got around it. But my answer was, and still is, that technical diving pays a little more attention to limits. But really and truly, there's no, because it has blurred over the intervening years. What used to be technical is no longer technical. You know, nitrox used to be technical. Now, does anyone dive air? I mean, I put it in the tires of my mountain bike, and that's about it. You know, so as that definition has changed, I think too, some of the agencies that started out as technical only agencies, TDI, INTD, RAID, we've all broadened our perspective and outlook because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah,
you know, to bring that same attention to detail or to limits or whatever it is that makes technical diving different and safer. that has some cachet or some value in the recreational side as well.
Yeah, well, you don't want to put people off by, as soon as people hear technical, a lot of people think, well, it's beyond, I can't do technical, or, it's too complicated, or it's too, I've got to study hard. But yeah, diving is available to everybody, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're comfortable in the water, if you are, I wouldn't say detail oriented, but if you can string together a couple of beads on a piece of string, if you have that kind of dexterity, and if you can understand some basic rules and why they're there to keep you safe, then I think it's open to most people. So if someone's engaged enough to try it, and of course there's free diving as well, which has a tremendous amount of value. I still, my father wouldn't let me drive a car until I'd driven a motorcycle, and I thank him for that. And I'm beginning to think a similar way to scuba diving. I think you should try free diving before you actually strap on a scuba tank and go diving. Not popular within the agency. I
can get your point though, because it makes you think about management of air, and also,
depth, and
makes you think more, rather than just taking it all for granted that you've got this bottle of air on your back, and gets rid of complacency. So I do get your point on that.
To some extent, I mean, and we all know complacency is one of the things that we really want to avoid, because it does have potentially some terrible consequences.
Yeah.
No, that's a good idea, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, but my partners are not.
Well, maybe further down the line, we'll start. All these things evolve, don't they?
The trouble you've got is that you're trying to, as a business, to try and grow, to get you need the numbers to come on, and that might put some people off, I guess.
Someone that I know quite well locally, they've got a couple of quiet analysts, and they said to me, for my girls, and what I said was, if they're interested, because we've got a lot of water around here. First of all, can they swim? Yeah, they can both swim. Great. Now teach them to use a mask and snorkel.
Yeah.
Or sign them up for a snorkel class or whatever, and then sign them up for a freediving class, and then get them in a scuba if they're really interested in it. There's many misconceptions about what we do, as a pastime, and I think one of them is that you've got to go deep. You've got to go deep. You've got to stay down a long time. Yeah. I had the pleasure many years ago to have an acquaintance who was a limnologist. He was, the world's leading authority on the acidification of lakes. And he wanted to learn to dive. So I taught him to dive. But of course, during that process, I said to him, what is it that you want to do with diving? And he said, I want to hang out 2 meters in a freshwater lake and watch snails.
Yeah.
And that was his thing. That was what he wanted to do. That was, his postdoctoral work or whatever. He was a prof at one of the universities here in Ontario, but that was his thing. That's why he wanted to learn to dive. And so it's not always about going deep and going into a cave and going into a wreck. For some people, the accessibility is to get a couple of meters underwater and to be able to watch things.
We were in a lock
interact
last week. And I have never seen in, several square meters, top, and the depth was at
6 meters top.
6 meters. Most of it was to so much life, so many crabs, so many starfish, little critters. And we saw scallop swim.
Yeah.
Never seen a scallop swim. You know, and there's just so much life. And I know at Help Gemma, and my daughter's going to be learning to dive next year. And one of the things that we're going to be working on is just getting in the river, which is quite close to us.
Yeah.
And then snorkeling, and then just getting, because I've seen through teaching, I've seen people, children and adults, when they've been in the pool. So they've done the tri dive, then they've done the pool work, and then go straight to a lake, and then really, you know, there's tears and all sorts, because there's no in between. They're gone from pool where it's lovely and crystal clear, it's warm, you know, they're in a swimsuit, and now they're in this big heavy dry suit. They've got this great big lake ahead of them,
hood on, gloves on,
it's cold, you know, and it all gets too much. And I've seen where people have either, and adults, not just children, have backed out, or they've done they've jumped in and got straight out again. And they lose that experience, where I think you're absolutely right, where I think with students, is a really good thing to do is get them used to seeing just the little things which you could see snorkeling, because it breaks that ice.
Yeah. And who are we to judge what someone else is going to get out of the pastime? You know, we can't. And it's that whole thing about living vicariously through someone else. And you can't do that. It's not fair. It's not fair on them. Yeah. Everyone has their own reason. And also, you miss out as well, because someone else brings a different perspective to a pastime that you're very used to. And suddenly you too can be turned on to someone else's view of what it is that you've looked at for years and years and years, but never actually seen.
Yeah.
Which I think is obviously is wonderful. You know, that's a great thing.
Yeah. No, and it is, and it, you know, and that infectious about your experience can be passed on to someone else, and you know, then they see it, and it just, you know, kind of snowballs as well. And that's how, you know, hopefully we'll get more people putting their heads under the water, whether it is just snorkeling or free diving.
I think sometimes people forget this is a sport, this is a hobby, this is, you know, something to enjoy. It's not just about slapping two great big tanks on your back and you've got all this weight and you're like struggling, and you know, and you think, how are you enjoying that? Are you really enjoying that? You know, you don't have to struggle.
I think you may have overheard some of our board meetings when a couple of the members are talking about, we got to do this with CCRs and we got to do that with, you know, rebreathers and twin tanks, and it's like, no, we don't. No, we don't. What we need to do is we need to get those 8-year-olds, those 10-year-olds, those 15-year-olds, and explain to them that every drop of water that you drink, every, you know, drop of water in your giant cup of coffee, the water that goes into making your soft drink, it all comes from the same place. And why don't we go and see it? And then we might have a bit more respect for it and a bit more comprehension of where it comes from, why we have to protect it. So, you know, there's that aspect as well. Certainly, by the time you've got to slapping a rebreather on your back and 5 bailout bottles and, you know, going 3 kilometers on a scooter into a cave to go exploring and lay a new line, by the time you get to that, hopefully you still have not lost that connection with the very first time that you saw, you know, that 1 square meter of coral somewhere in the Red Sea or in the Med, or, you know, in the Caribbean, where you've floated there for an hour and a half just looking at the community and thinking to yourself, you know, I don't care if there's life on Mars, there's life right here.
Yeah. Jem, what did someone say to us on the harbour wall at the Farne Islands? And this is what you've got to get away. This is what diving's got to get, this mentality is what we've got to get away from. What did that guy say to us?
Yeah, he said, well, it's not diving unless you're going over 20 meters deep. And, and we're in the Farne Islands, and the Farne Islands are just awesome for a couple of meters, 5 meters, 10 meters. You don't need to do any more than that to see life. And he's going, 20 meters, got to dive 20 meters.
Yes,
and you just
that's
think,
BS.
Yeah.
On the west coast of Canada, off Victoria, there is a break wall that goes out around the harbour, and it's a famous dive site. And I took someone there one time. We humped our tanks sort of half a kilometre around this wall, and put everything on and jumped single tanks, and jumped in. And I had to sort of remind them to put the regulator back in their mouth, because on the wall, as soon as your head went under the water, you could not touch the wall without killing something. The west coast of Canada has some of the most colourful and prolific marine life in the world. Plus, you've got orcas and all sorts of other pelagic life. But even the static, the invertebrate life that's on that substrate is absolutely amazing. And you don't have to go, you don't even really and truly, you could just float there with a mask on and a snorkel, so you don't have to take your head out of the water and see it. But it was absolutely beautiful to be at 2 meters, 3 meters, and to see such a prolific, more prolific than going out in the woods, and looking at all the sponges, all the mosses, and shrubs and branches and trees and insects. It's exactly the same, only more so and more colourful, more varied.
Yeah.
It's that's really good to hear. And there is a place for deep diving and tech diving, that is great, and fair play. And there's a lot to learn with that, and the whole part of the sport is about all encompassing, and it's really good to hear you say that. That's really good, because it makes RAID come over as being very positive, very open, very welcoming. And that's how, as a business, is how you've got to be. So what is the future for RAID? Where do you see the future going? Where do you fit in with all the other diving agencies?
I would hope that all the agencies have a very similar message, and that is, here's a safe way to enjoy something totally extraordinary that has absolutely nothing to do with our everyday life. This is a vacation right there. On a Friday afternoon, or even on a Saturday morning, you can drive somewhere, put your kit on, and go and experience something that is absolutely totally different to the rest of your week. I hope every agency thinks that. It's a bit of a Pollyanna look at things, because I know that the business model of a couple of our competitors is a little different to that. But but that's their choice, and that's fine. For the future, I think the future is, honestly, as kids, is turning every generation. Part of our mission statement is a new generation of divers, and that doesn't mean that can be easily misinterpreted as thinking, oh, that means kids. Well, sure it does, but it also means a 70-year-old that suddenly realizes that he or she wants to float around and look at those snails in the lake. So I think the future is trying to really turn people on to what diving actually represents, and it's got so many opportunities. From bimbling around in 3 or 4 meters to laying new line in a cave that's never been visited in the history of the world, at least for the last 10,000 years. So there's opportunities to do both, and I would hope that RAID will be there with open arms to welcome people into that experience from whichever end of it they want to end up.
Well, it sounds a very happy kind of agency and a welcoming one as well. And you're right, it just, diving can lead anybody down any avenue. We always say this on the podcast, career wise, as hobbies, it really can take you anywhere.
Yeah,
it can. And as a career, I mean, I've been very, very lucky. I got into, I used to be a recreational sport instructor, but I got into technical diving when it was just taking off, and had the opportunity to sort of grow with that side of the industry. And so I have been lucky, but there is, I look at the opportunities that there are now from the point of view of ecology, from the point of view of paleoanthropology, looking at all the stuff that exists. Marine biology, etc., and that whole thing about the aquifer, about our drinking water, we need to become more aware as a species. We need to become more aware of what it is that we're doing to this planet, because and maybe not my future, but certainly the future of diving might be growing a general awareness of how fortunate we are to live on a blue planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, it's really good. So what would take you out of your comfort zone?
Those questions. Out of my comfort zone. Diving, I assume you mean.
Yeah. Doesn't have to be diving.
Well, just in life generally, if there's something else.
I think complacency, whether it's in diving, with being with someone who's complacent, or driving in a car with someone who's complacent about, or cavalier about personal safety. That takes me out of my comfort zone. I get a bit preachy.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think
preachy anyway. So my partners don't like wheeling me out in front of the audience because I tend to get preachy sometimes. But that takes me out of my comfort zone. Complacency, disrespect for the environment, disrespect for other people's space or their comfort zone.
Yeah. No, that's a really good answer. Yeah, and it's very simple, but it's in huge impact as well.
So your partners, they're not going to be contacting us after this, are they? He said what?
No, I don't think. Oh, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll make them sweat.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question for you. We've got so if you could take 3 people diving with you, anyone from history, who would you take?
Well, certainly, my dad is on that list, and my dad is no longer with us. But my dad was a very interesting dude and had a great love and curiosity of the unknown. So I'd love to take my dad on a reef somewhere.
Yeah.
The other one, of course, is Hans Haas. As I said before, I would just. There was a man whose enthusiasm and whose understanding of the environment, for a man who really came of age during the Nazi occupation of his country, it was Austria, and then to have some contact with that man, I would love to find out what turns his crank. I think I know it, but he had such a deep understanding, pun unintended, such a deep understanding of what made marine life tick. I'd love to.
What do you think he would make of it? With one, what's going on with like climate change and that, and 2, what do you think he would make of diving as it is today? Because obviously, technology and kit plays such a big role now in diving.
Well, as someone who was into making underwater images, films, I would love him to see a Parallax or a GoPro. Because he made a housing, his first housing was for a 16mm Araflex, and it was the size of Gemma. The housing was like taking a person diving. And of course the quality was a order of magnitude less than the resolution that we have now from something this big, the size of a teacup. So that would be one thing. And the other thing would be lighting. And again, I've been diving long enough to have seen the incredible technology or changes in technology that have gone on in terms of battery size, power, number of lumens being kicked out by light, their reliability. In cave diving, we still teach that people take backup lights to their primary light. And primary lights do occasionally fail. Yeah. And, you need another light because it is dark in there. But it's so rare, and it used to be so common. Every second dive, your main light would go, belly up. But now that's much less frequent. So that technology has changed. So those two things, so any early underwater videographer or photographer, that's really digital technology, lights that don't fail, that are very bright, that are color corrected, etc., etc., etc. I think you'd be astonished.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So that's two people. So who would be your third?
I think any politician that doesn't understand why we need protection of our waterways.
Yeah.
Just take them under that, do that thing like that. My friend who was a scientist, stick them in front of a couple of blades of grass and say, look at that.
Yeah. Yes.
That is, we have a common ancestor with that. Sure, it's a few 100 million years ago, but, if we don't protect that, how can we possibly expect to protect ourselves? And really, that's what it's about. So that would be my kick someone in the butt kind of dive.
No, good answers. Yes, definitely. So through obviously your whole life, have you got some kind of nugget that you think is, a bit of a life hack that you would pass on to somebody and say, this is from me?
One of the things about what we do in life, as well as this pastime that we enjoy, is breathing. And years and years ago, I was taught to breathe. I took up a Chinese martial art, and for quite a long time, we just learned to breathe. That was all we, with no sort of kung fu, no bits of wood, no bricks, none of that stuff, no stretching your legs, just sitting there breathing. So meditation, and if there was one thing, and again, I don't want to sound too, West Coast latte drinking, sort of get all your chakras open. But meditation, it helps, and learning to breathe, learning to focus your mind. When something hits the fan, when the Rottweilers are all lining up underwater and things are looking a bit pear-shaped, being able to calm yourself down and carry on breathing at a normal rate. You cannot panic if you can control your breathing. You just can't. You might shift your focus onto things that are not quite where they should be, but essentially, if I could pass on one thing to anyone who's thinking about either taking up diving or wanting to improve their diving or wanting to get more out of it, I would say learn to breathe, practice meditation.
We have had guests in the past say that free diving has really helped their scuba diving.
That's right. I really think that's good advice.
Do you do yoga?
I do Tai Chi, so sort of moving meditation. Yeah. So it's kind of like yoga. I do yoga stretches, but in the Tai Chi world, they're called Qigong. So it's the same thing.
Yeah. No, I think it's good. I think
it's just popular.
Yeah. And what you say about breathing is so true as well, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, brilliant. So if we could give you...
What was that?
Sorry.
Say that again?
No, I said yoga breathing or breathing for martial arts or breathing for meditation. It's all centered on the same premise.
Yeah.
And
it's so important as well to, and what you say with panic, control your breathing. It certainly definitely helps. Okay. Next question we've got is, we're going to give you a billboard. Okay, and that billboard will be seen by the whole world, and you can put anything you like on that billboard. It can be a video, an image, a statement, a message, goes out to the whole world. What are you going to put on it?
I think, and I mean, I realize this is starting to sound like a broken, record going round and round and round, skipping back to the same track. But I think I would put on it some sort of a message that was easily digestible by the largest number of people about how important water is in our life and our existence and the continued existence of this species. We have, in a very short space of time, destroyed huge numbers of species, driven to extinction. We are the mass extinction that's happening right now. And is it too late to reverse it? I don't know. I hope not. But certainly I would hope that, when I draw my last breath, I can think to myself, well, you know what? The ocean's being protected. So if I had that billboard and it was there, there would be a message on it. And I used to be a copywriter, so I should be able to come up with a snappy headline, and I can't. Except, this is your future, and just a lot of water, just a big blue expanse with maybe a wave on it. Because it really is, it's our past. And I think there's a continuum for it to go into the future as well.
Yeah. And we can't survive without it.
You can go without food for a long time. You can go without water for a few days. You can only go without air for about 5 minutes. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Back to breathing. Yeah.
No, great answers, really great, and quite thought-provoking as well, which is always a good thing. So if people want to find out more about you and RAID, where are the best places for them to catch you? There are links. I know the way you do it. There are links, and I will certainly say click on the links. Do a Google search or go to diveraid.com or to our blog, which is diveraidinternational.blog. Those are places where you find out more about the company and a little bit more about me. Not that me is important, but certainly from the point of view of perspective. And my lovely line marker cartoons, my stupid doodles that I do. And of course, Facebook. You do a search on Facebook, and we all come up. No, that's great. And hopefully from this podcast, people will give RAID a look up, and and I really think it gives that enthusiasm and positivity. It's really like a welcoming feel that it gives out.
Yeah, and that's nice to hear as well. And of course, I hope to see you guys at the show in England this coming spring.
Yeah, we'll be there.
And that's an important show for us, and for our North American listeners. RAID will be at DEMA, which is a very, very different sort of show, very American. Not quite as welcoming as the go-diving show.
So that DEMA's in November.
Early November.
November 1st, I think this year, in Orlando, Florida, which is a very interesting spot.
Good dive spot. No.
I mean, Florida. It's in Florida. And Florida, there are parts of Florida that have wonderful diving. The Florida Keys have some interesting wrecks, some nice reefs, and then you've got the sort of the east coast of Florida, which has the Gulf Stream, and again, it's got some great drift dives. And of course, you've got the seat of technical cave diving in North Florida, around Ginny Springs, High Springs, that area, Wakulla. But Orlando, Mickey Mouse.
Take a visit to Disneyland.
Or not. Years ago, took my stepkids to Disneyland. They stuck it for one day and then said, "Can we go somewhere else?"
Well, hopefully the show will get everybody together from, all parts of the world. And that's a good way to meet up with everybody anyway.
It is.
Yeah, and look at other opportunities, because it is about getting out of your shell, and not necessarily out of your comfort zone, but growing your comfort zone and traveling to places that that you maybe have always thought about traveling to. And that's one of the nice things about all of the dive shows, whether it be Boot in Germany, whether it be DEMA, whether it be the Go Diving show, or any of the other shows around the world, the Paris show. One of the big components, of course, is travel. And that is part and parcel of our industry, and what we do has to do with travel. So that's a huge component as well.
Yeah, no, really good. Yeah. So have you got any dives planned for the next week or so?
Not for the next week, but in a few weeks I'll be going back to Mexico.
Yeah.
Wow.
To do some more cave diving, and my girlfriend is going to do a cavern class. So she has been
nice.
She's been convinced to try the overhead. So we'll see how that goes.
When was your last dive then? When was you last in the water?
I was last in the water a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, cool. Was that a cave, or you just?
No, it was in a lake.
All right.
Yeah. Oh well, that's good.
Excellent.
So yeah.
Time before that was in a cave. So
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Oh well, we look forward to hearing how the cave and the Mexico trip goes. Let us know, because that's always good to know. So, but yeah. Thank you very much for being on the podcast. It's been great chatting to you, and we're looking forward to seeing you in March. Yeah. Really.
Yeah, I'll soon come around.
Thanks for the invite, and yes, it will come around very, very quickly. In the meantime, stay safe, have fun, dive lots, and keep doing what you do, because it's important. Get the message out.
Thank you very much for coming on and sparing some of your time as well. So, thank you very much for Steve for coming on. That was really good, and so enthusiastic, and also so good to hear. Steve's top of the management tree, and he's seeing his enthusiasm. You can see it on his face.
Yeah,
not just the words that he said. It's really good, because RAID is a really important part of the diving community, and they're going to be teaching people.
Yeah,
and we need that enthusiasm to come through, and we've got to say, you don't always get that with instructors, and that needs to filter from the top down.
Yeah, and for our listeners, RAID is not always everybody's heard of PADI, but RAID isn't always.
It's not always their first choice. No, it's not, because PADI is a big monster, it's a big machine.
It's the corporate.
Been around a long time.
Yeah,
very.
Yeah. Whereas for any new diver, RAID, I mean, we've met Steve in person, but it always comes across as he's so enthusiastic, and it's kind of that welcoming kind of feel about it. And
the good thing you get with a agency like RAID, and I would probably include SSI, you've got Global Underwater Explorers, you've got TDI, and TD. You've got these smaller agencies, and they can adapt. The people at the top can get more involved. They're not just owned by investors who are just thinking about the dollars and the pound notes. They're, when an agency gets really, really big, that can be an issue for them to just change.
Yeah, but equally, everybody wants different things from their diving. So, people that go to RAID fit that mold, but then people that fit in the bigger agencies, it's good for them. So
BZAC, there's a reason why BZAC exists, because some people prefer that club type of teaching, rather than you turn up, you pay your money, and a weekend you'd go from being a non-diver to a qualified diver, hopefully in a short period of time. But some people prefer more open club type of teaching. Yeah,
but I think Steve's a good representation of RAID and kind of their morals and their values, really.
Yeah.
And it's great that he's so enthusiastic about it all, and he will be till forever and ever. He's great.
Thoroughly good. Really good to hear. Some really good points I thought he made. About being open, and diving is about having fun.
Yeah, but not being complacent. That was a big thing.
But no, that's right. Yeah, you can be, on your A game and making sure things are done properly and still have fun.
Yeah,
the two go hand in hand.
Yeah. No, it was really good. So sort of great, and hopefully it will make people have a look at RAID and see where their nearest RAID agency is in the UK or wherever they are in the world.
Yeah. Well, the links will be in the show notes, and so they'll be there, and in our social medias when we come to sharing this episode, they'll be there, won't they?
Yeah. So,
and we all should also know that we'll if we haven't noted this at the start of the podcast, is that we're obviously in the UK on the East Coast, and he's half a world away
in Canada,
in the depths of the Canadian, what's the word? Rural areas on one of the lakes near Toronto.
Yeah, so he was, I think he was 250k from Toronto. So so the reception wasn't always fab, but we held it together. So yeah.
Sometimes, and if it weren't for Zoom, a lot of these interviews would never take place.
Right.
We should remember that. So thanks to modern technology, we can do these conversations. So anyway, we hope everybody enjoys that, and that'll be on to the next one.
Yes. Yep. So thanks, Steve Lewis.
Yeah. Thanks, Steve. Thanks for taking part. That was really good. And we'll see him in March, which is not long away, actually.
2023. Yeah. 6 months away.
Yeah. So, we'll be talking about the Go Diving show all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for downloading, and don't forget to leave a review, and we will see you on the next one. But for right now, that was
the BiG Scuba Podcast.
See you later. Thanks for downloading. Thanks for listening. Now that does wrap up today's episode of the BiG Scuba Podcast. But if you want to hear more from the podcast, make sure you hit that subscribe or follow button depending on what platform you are listening on. That way you will never miss an episode from us. But if you are listening on Apple Podcasts and did enjoy what you heard today, we would really appreciate it if you head to the show page to leave a 5-star rating and review. It really does help us. If you do, please take a screenshot of that review and send it to us on Instagram, and we'll give you a shout out to say a big thank you. If you have any questions for us or anything that has been mentioned in today's episode, be sure to reach out to us on any of our social media platforms or send us an email. The links are in the show notes. We will get back to you no matter what. If you have made it to this point in the episode, we both want to say a big thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.